Welcome to another episode of the Giants Guys. I'm John Fennelly. The Giants just completed their 2018 preseason schedule with a 2-2 record, and we're going to go out to Chris Bisignano of the Giants Insider to discuss Giants cuts, who will make the team, who won't, who's playing well, who's not, and the prognosis for the upcoming season.
Chris, how are you?
John, feeling good. How you doing?
Very good. Preseason's over. It looks like the heat might be over for now. How did you guys soldier through this?
Well, that was kind of tough, to be honest with you. Watching, them do 3 hours of third stringers and second stringers, but got through it, and their regular season's, 9 days away now, and the excitement is building.
So what did they have in the press box food-wise? Did they give you guys any goodies, or did they skimp on that too?
No. They actually came out with, they had a lot of stuff last night. At halftime, they had the boneless wings, which I love. And the food was good last night. That was one of the best parts of the game.
Yeah, that's usually the
tough getting through the border.
Yeah, that's usually the best part. You know, what happens when the game isn't interesting, you end up going back 3 or 4 times to get stuff, right?
Yeah, I made about 4 trips last night. As a matter of fact, a lot of people up in the booth were making trips. A lot of people were just hanging out talking while the game was going on.
I remember.
It's a typical fourth preseason game, but we got through it. You know, it's still nice to watch some guys play, and now we move on. Now we start for real.
It is. Cuts are coming tomorrow. Probably the hardest day of the year for an NFL team. It used to be done in 2 stages, from 90 to 75, and then from 75 to 53. Now it's 90 to 53. With the Giants, it's 89 to 53 because they traded Brett Jones during the week. We'll talk about that in a second. So they're only going to be down 36 guys, probably 35 because McIntosh, the rookie, will probably go to IR. He hasn't played it down this year, has he?
No, he hasn't even practiced. He just started doing individual work a couple weeks ago. He hasn't even put the pads on all summer. So you expect to see an IR for him.
Yeah, he can't play this year. So if you don't practice, you don't play. And he didn't have a training camp. He didn't have a mini camp. He didn't even have OTAs, right?
Yeah, not one time. He was on the sideline the whole time. Like I said, only like the last few weeks was he doing some individual stuff on the side. So he hasn't played one snap. In full team activities, nothing. So IR would be for him.
Yeah. That he's going to be on IR, and there's one player that's very frustrating. There's a couple of frustrating players. We know that. Mm-hmm. One of them is the safety Darian Thompson, who is hurt again. I know we played all 16 games last year. But the issue here is he's got a hamstring that's lingering. He hasn't played since the beginning of the preseason. Yeah. Do they put him on the roster, or do they put him on IR? I mean, if they're going to put him on IR before they cut the roster, he's gone for the year. If they put him on IR and cut him and put him on the roster rather, and then cut it and then put him on IR, he can come back after 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's the rule, and I don't know if they want to waste their short-term IR pick on him. I mean, what do you think?
No, I don't think they will. I think, John, it's 6 weeks. When you go on IR, you have to be out the first 6 games. I don't know. Honestly, I didn't have time to making the team when I did the final 53. Obviously, now it's a little bit of a wrinkle. I thought maybe he'd play last night, but then he was out again. I don't know, John. I mean, now I see maybe an IR situation for him. But it wouldn't surprise me if he does not make this team, if he does get released. He's just too far behind, John. He's just so far behind. Guys have stepped up in front of him, and so it wouldn't shock me if Sherman does cut him tomorrow.
Yeah, and he's a Jerry Reese pick, so they don't have any kind of prior history with him. Same thing with a guy like Avery Moss. All the guys that Reese had drafted, he had coveted his draft picks. If he drafted you, you were on the roster for 4 years. He would never cut you. No matter how poorly you were playing, J-Rod Hosley, I mean, these guys, one guy after another was a bust, and he just kept them on the roster. And I think that's one of the reasons why the Giants started to sink into a big hole, talent-wise. They just kept these guys on there, like James Brewer, remember that guy?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, one stiff after another, and they would just keep these guys because they were paying them at a minimum, on their rookie contracts, so they kept them on the roster for 4 years, and these guys weren't worth it. I don't think Gettleman is that kind of guy. I think he's a guy that cuts his losses right away, and he'll cut Reese's losses right away too.
Yeah, and basically the only reason why Flowers is on the roster still is because they don't have another right tackle. If there was another right tackle in his camp, he probably would be in danger himself.
Yes.
No matter what they, no matter what they say, he's improved, he looks good, but I'm sure if they had another right tackle, he would be gone. And listen, Thompson was a reach draft pick, and he did play last season, and he wasn't really that impressive, John. They were hoping to come back his second full year to see what he has, and now he's set himself, he put himself in a hole with his injury. So I think he's on thin ice, Sean. Personally, I don't think he's going to make the team, but we'll see what happens with his leg in the IR.
All right, so that's one guy. I mean, they do have safeties. Collins is obviously the first safety, and I think Curtis Riley has pretty much won the free safety job for now.
Yeah.
Last night, starting the game, Chris Lewis Harris started at safety. I thought he was a corner. I didn't see why they put him at safety. I guess they just wanted to see how he would fare, and he was very active in the game. Got a penalty for lowering the helmet. He gave up a couple of plays. He missed an interception, but he made a lot of tackles. He looked pretty good out there. So I think he helped himself last night. Whether it's enough, I don't know. Grant Haley, the same thing. Grant Haley could be a practice squad guy, as we know, but it may not be the Giants practice squad once you waive a guy. Any team could pick him up and put him on the practice squad. So,
Yeah, I think Grant Haley might be a dangerous one. If they waive Grant Haley tomorrow, I think that could be a dangerous one. I could see a team picking him up. That might be one guy that might not make the practice squad. I like Grant Haley. I mean, his size is the only issue with him. But you know what?
Right.
He makes up for that size a lot with his heart. The way he's a very aggressive kid, So, listen, he's going to be a close one. I think he is going to, I think he will get cut, and I think they will look to put him on the practice squad if he does clear, but he might be a kid that might not clear, John.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
But if somebody picks him up on waivers, they have to put him on their 53.
Yes.
Okay. If he passes waivers, clears waivers, the Giants can sign him back, but then so could any other team on their practice squad. And I think the Giants obviously will be looking at other teams, players to put on their practice squad that get released from other teams, not just the guys they release.
John, I think they're going to be looking at players tomorrow that's going to make the 53. So whoever makes the final 53 tomorrow, the last few guys that are on the bubble that make the squad, they shouldn't feel too safe because when those names start coming out Saturday afternoon, there might be some changes down the pike.
Well, there's one thing I wasn't clear on, and I'm always, when it comes to suspended guys, Josh Morrow.
Yeah, he's not on the roster. Yeah,
he's not on the roster, right? Okay, so they don't have to worry about putting him on and then suspending him. He's already suspended.
No. He's not on the roster until week 5. And then he comes back, and obviously somebody else has to go. So
yeah, by that time, who knows what kind of space he'll have.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the big event of the week, Odell Beckham Jr.'s contract, pretty much in the range where a lot of people thought it would be. I mean, I was fairly accurate with my prediction. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was pretty close to what he signed for because he's not going to get quarterback money. He's not going to get pass rusher money, but he's going to get wide receiver money and a little bit more than Mike Evans got or Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins or whoever else is up there in wide receiver pay. And how did that signing affect the tone of the building this week? I mean, were people just happy it's done? Were they happy for him? Or were they happy for themselves because they get to keep probably the most famous player in the game right now when you think about it.
Yeah, it was I was there when the news broke. There was a lot of excitement, and it was like a big sigh of relief, John. It was like, it was obviously something that was hovering over the organization. Especially, you didn't quite know what Odell was going to do. I mean, me personally, I don't think he was going to hold out the first game. I think, everything was going to be a go. He was going to play. But there was always, out there about would he show up for the first game, if he didn't have a new contract by then.
Right.
So the feeling that everybody got in the building was excitement that he's on board, and a big, relief. I think it was a big relief for Shermer, obviously Gettleman, Mara, the whole organization, that, okay, this issue is now cleared up. Odell's on board. He looks great, John. I know nobody, has seen him yet because he hasn't played a snap. He didn't play a snap at preseason. But I do see him every day, and he is 100%, and it should be quite a debut next week, John. So there's a lot of excitement in the building, a lot of relief, and now let's move on. He got his money, and let's roll now against Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I was looking at next year's salary cap requirements, and they already have 157 million spoken for. So there's a lot of decisions to be made, and they still have to sign Landon Collins. That does not count what he's going to get. He's probably going to get double digits per year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Eric Berry of Kansas City has the biggest contract. I think it was $78 million. I don't think he'll get that, but he'll probably get somewhere around, I'd say 5 years, $55 million.
Well, I think he'll make more than that, John.
It could be more. I'm being conservative.
What is Berry's contract? What is he making a year? I
think it's 6. I think it's 6 years at 78. I'm not sure of the guaranteed money. Probably 50% guaranteed.
Okay,
and this is a guy that had cancer.
Right. But he came back and played really well until he got hurt again. He was looking really good. And so now you look at that, and if Collins has a big year, which I expect, Pro Bowl year, or
I think he will,
or All Pro, which is different than Pro Bowl. If he's an All Pro, I see him making more than Eric Berry, John. I think he will get more than him. And it's just like the Odell situation with Antonio Brown. Next guy up, okay, now he's going to make a little bit more. So Collins is younger than Berry, and I think he will, make more than Eric's contract. So listen. A lot of guys, you don't know what's going to happen next year. Eli renegotiates, Jack Rabbit gets caught. I mean, I'm not saying that happens, but, next year's a whole different animal.
Yeah, but this is something that people are looking at because it affects, Beckham's contract doesn't really kick in until next year.
Yeah,
Olivier Vernon's escalators are kicking in now. He's going to be $24 million against the cap, and Eli is $23 million against the cap.
Mm-hmm.
So, you really have to think about if Vernon doesn't have a good year, they have an out where they can cut him and take a minimal dead cap hit of probably about $8 million.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they'd want to do that, but, economics are really playing a large part in the decisions that are coming up. So Collins is going to play this year. He's a second-round pick. He doesn't have a lot of leverage. There's no fifth-year option for him because he's a second-rounder. The first pick of the second round, but still, it doesn't count.
Nope.
And
I don't know. Yeah, John. Listen, you could keep playing kick the can down the road with the cap. I mean, you look at the Rams. They got like 9. It seems like 10 guys. These all-stars, always all-pros locked up. Now they're going to sign Donald the same.
Yeah, that's without Aaron Donald. Yeah.
Right, and now supposedly they're getting close with him to an extension. So, I mean, where are they getting this cap money? I mean, so a lot of these teams play that old kick the can, John. So I'm not. Listen, it's something to worry about, but I'll worry about that next year. And there's always ways to get around this cap, and teams do it all the time. So we'll see. We'll worry about that next year.
Well, they did get some cap relief from the Brett Jones trade, and the Beckham the extension freed up $3 million this year for him. So they have like $6.5 million in cap space.
Yeah.
Where at the beginning of the week they had none. They had like 500,000. Right. That's going to come in handy if and when they get a veteran becomes available for them. to put at corner, put on the offensive line. I think they're really looking to beef up the offensive line. Like you said, if they had another alternative to Flowers, I don't know if he'd be cut, but he'd certainly be on the bench, if not cut. They don't have a lot of depth there. I don't like Wheeler. We talked about that. I don't like Becton that much. Now, Becton apparently has an ankle injury.
Yeah.
Jerry is not really a tackle, although he started there last night, I think, at right tackle. He's a last line of defense offensive lineman. He's a good guy to have, but you don't want him playing every game.
No.
Right? No. That's what he's been doing for the Giants. He's been playing almost every game.
Yeah, listen, he's going to be he's going to be one of those guys, one of those guards off the bench, if somebody gets hurt, Will and Beck didn't play last night, they were on the right side and left side, and, listen, John, the offensive line is very thin. If a starter gets hurt, the Giants are in trouble.
So why do you think they traded Jones? I mean, that seems to be the strength right there. Him and Jalapeno, whoever didn't play center, the other guy backed them up, and they could both play guard. I mean, that was a lot. That was their depth right there. It was kind of a mysterious move to a lot of people.
Well, John, I put it on Twitter the other day that I believe that Sherman was going to cut Brett Jones. I didn't think he was going to make the team. A lot of teams like to do that to see what they could get for him before they do release him, knowing they're going to release him. And then the Viking injury with Pat Eflon came up, their starting center, and Sherman with his connections in Minnesota, they wound up getting a 7th round for. I mean, that's just what I believe.
Okay.
I'm not saying
that
that's
makes sense.
What's going to happen. But you look at, Brett Jones, you say about as far as him playing guard, maybe he didn't play guard. I don't think one snap his whole training camp. He was strictly back up behind Jalapeno. So Sherman's a power guy. This is why he projected Jalapeno to win the job from the beginning. Sherman likes the power. Jalapeno had more power, had more of the strength in the running game than Brett Jones. Obviously, they didn't like his progress, John, and a lot of people think, maybe it was for the cap relief. No, I don't believe it was for the cap relief. I believe that he was going to get relief. I think Sherman liked his guy Greco more than Brett Jones to play center, stuff that happened to Jalapeno. He wound up getting a 7th rounder for him for next year, which they didn't have, So that's what I believe happened. I just don't think they were crazy about Brett Jones, and they moved on from him,
But let's talk about some of the signings that don't appear to be working out right now. Jonathan Stewart, he looks like a 31-year-old running back who's over the hill. And Patrick Omame, who was basically cut by Jacksonville, and the Giants gave him $15 million.
Right.
I don't understand what they saw in either one of these guys. I can understand Stewart, but not at that price. And Omame, to put him right in at right guard without a challenge just seems to be a reach to me. And now it's proving he's playing the worst out of anybody on the offensive line right now.
Yeah, Omame is really scaring me over there. He's known more for his run blocking game, and I watch him on film. I watch the play after play. I watch him, and I don't even see him blocking well right now in the run game. His pass protection is very weak. He's been beat a few times this preseason to sacks or pressures, So right now he doesn't look too solid over there. Listen, things could change, John, as the season goes along. If he starts out of the gate looking bad, you could see like a Jalapeno going back to right guard and Greco's going over there starting at center, Because there's no way, John, there's just no way that Omame, the way he played this preseason, there's no way he's going to stay in that spot if he doesn't progress, when the bell rings next week.
Right.
It's just that, you can't have guards giving up sacks, John. You just can't. You can't have guards giving up pressures, and he's done both, And Sherman, listen, these are no dummies here. So obviously Omami's going to start next week against Jacksonville, but that's a real good interior line they present there.
Yep.
physical guys and Malik Jackson, and they got, Marcel Darius coming at them there. And,
We've got some good players there.
yeah, they got
Sure.
some good players, so if Omani really struggles next week, I could definitely see changes coming down the pike. There's just no way you're going to be able to stay with him, John. You can't have guards getting beat with a quick swim move and your quarterback getting creamed.
Yep.
Can't happen. Now when you
Yep.
have a center next to you, it just can't happen, John, So
I agree. And that's one of the
gonna be-
reasons why, people have been emailing me and sending me text messages and Twitter messages. What did they see in this guy? Why do they want him? Why is he still there? And, the contract they gave him was above market as far as I'm concerned for him. And, is it possible they cut their losses with this guy? Because he doesn't really look as good as Nick Becton when Nick Becton plays guard. You know what I'm saying?
Becton's been used at tackle.
Well, last night he started at guard. And he played very well.
No, Becton played right tackle last night, and Will was at tackle. Jerry started at guard.
Okay, so they had it flipped from the program.
Oh no, I was wrong there. Chris Scott and Jerry were the guards last night. They started off. But Greco was at center, and Becton and Wheeler were the tackles last night.
Okay, all right. So that they had it backwards.
I think it's just.
But Scott played every down.
Yeah, Chris Scott moved over. He played guard. He played center last night. Listen, I think it's just another example, John, of like Flowers on the right tackle position is that they just don't really have anybody else they feel could be with the ones right now.
Wow.
Now, like I said, that could change. Don't forget, Jalapeno played the last 6 games last year at right guard and played well for the Giants.
Yes, yes, he did.
So
yes,
can I see a Greco down the road after a few games putting him in center and Jalapeno back at right guard? Yeah, if they have to. If they have to. So it's going to be interesting. And you know what? Oman is going to get tested right out of the back because those are 2 physical tackles, and he's going to be facing, that first game. So.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a concern, John. Definitely a concern.
What about Stewart? They plan on using him, and he's minus 5 yards rushing on 10 carries. So he's losing yardage. I know he's been a great player in this league, a very good player at the very least. But they wanted to bring him in because they had no experience at running back. But that's about all he's bringing to the table is experience. He's not bringing production. And is he worth keeping at that price, $3 million a year, just to, coach up Goldman and Barkley and the others?
Well, I think they still envision, a situational back with Stewart. I don't think he's going anywhere tomorrow. If that's what you're asking, you think he's going to make the 53? Yeah, I think he is making a 53, no question.
Oh, he's done it, yeah.
But honestly, John, I just can't see him getting many touches in a game, and not the way Goldman has stepped up. I mean, to me, it has to be Barkley and then Goldman, And I got to be honest with you, John. I know a lot of people look at Stewart as a short yardage situation guy, goal line. You know what?
Yep.
You know what? Like, if you have a 3rd and 1 on your 30-yard line, 3rd and inches, whatever. I want the home run hitter in there. I want Barkley in there. Let them stack the line of scrimmage with 10 guys on a short yard situation. You go 2 tight ends, whatever, or 3 tight ends. You know what? Barkley's a home run hitter, John. He could take a 3rd and inches and go 70 yards in an eyelash. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
I don't look at it like, okay, it's 3rd and 1. Let's get the short yardage back in here. No, not when you have a guy like Barkley that could break it at any time. So I don't see what. John, I guess goal line situation, the only thing I see Stewart being used in, to be honest with you. Because, the way Gallman has played this preseason, the flashes he showed last year, this kid Gallman is a back. This kid can play, man.
All of their running backs have the same qualities. They're very tough inside runners. They all can block. They all can play special teams. Jalen Simmons, Jarrell Presley, Robert Martin, the rookie out of Rutgers. They're all compact. They're all muscular. They're not, they're very built. They're built very well, all of them. They're football players. And they all get positive yards. Everybody gets positive yards except for Stewart.
Yeah, and listen, you can't go too much, on that, because it's preseason, and I don't remember exactly, the line who's behind, but you can't get too caught up in that. He is a veteran, but for what I've seen in practice and I've seen in the preseason games, he obviously has lost another step, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Besides the one he was losing with Carolina, the one he lost to Carolina. So.
And a lot of beat writers have picked up on that, saying that he looks like he's done.
He looks slow. Yeah, he does, John. He looks slow. He
and
looks slow.
For a team that's trying to reestablish their running game, that's not the guy you want to do it with.
Yeah, listen, and you're not going to keep. I know he's a valuable locker room guy, but this is still a production league, John. You know what I mean? So if they feel he brings zero to the table, he's not making the 53, John. No matter how much of a good locker room guy he is, this isn't a feel good league. This is a production league.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
that's it. It's unforgiving, the NFL.
It's an unforgiving, cutthroat business, and you're not going to keep a guy that Coach Sherman thinks is going to bring zero to the team because he gets along with Gorman and Barkley. That's not happening. You know what I mean? So, listen, John, I think he will make the 53 tomorrow. Now, if he gets cut, would it shock me? No, it wouldn't shock me, but, we'll see tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow around 4 o'clock, but I think he will. I think he is safe,
So there's two other things before we go I want to talk about. The defensive line, there's a couple of guys on that defensive line, Robert Thomas and A.J. Francis. Mm-hmm. Every time they play, they make plays. Mm-hmm. And they can't cut either one of these guys as far as I'm concerned, especially Robert Thomas. I think the guy is, he's a notch below Snacks and Tomlinson, but you don't lose a lot when he's in there. So I see him making it. A.J. Francis is a pro. I think that he's the kind of guy they got to keep, and I hope you agree with that because I don't want to see either one of those guys get cut.
Yeah, no, Robert Thomas, without question, is going to make the team. He's going to back up those. He'll give him some, he'll give him some reps. He'll give him a blow. He'll get some reps in during the game, Thomas. He'll get some snaps. A.J. Francis, a guy, because of Josh Moore's suspension, I do believe will make the 53 tomorrow, and then he might be in trouble when Morrow comes back. But he's a nice little player, too, a hard-working guy, real good guy, hard-working guy, gives it his all every snap, John, so. But as far as Thomas, Thomas is, he's not Snacks, but if something happens to Snacks during the game and you got to plug Thomas over that nose, it's not like he's going to get blown off the ball and all of a sudden, the team's going to start from a 3.1 average to a 6.5 because Thomas is in there. You know what I mean? So
they have a good rotation there.
Yeah, and Thomas is a nice guy. Another guy. Bouncing around a little bit. And works hard. And listen, 2 sacks is preseason. I know it's against other teams' backups, but a guy
that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, a guy you put in there. You know what, John? Thomas is a guy you put in there and say, okay, you know what? I feel good with him, over the center. If we have to play him 2 quarters because Snacks God forbid, got injured or something like that. So,
right.
Francis, I believe, will be on the team tomorrow, but I believe he probably will be gone when Morrow comes back.
Yeah. Morrow is the guy they like. They brought him in. He's a solid player. I mean, he plays end, he plays nose, he can bump out to outside linebacker if you need him in some formations. He knows that defense from coming from Arizona. So he's a guy they're definitely going to want to keep. One last question for you. How good do you think Lorenzo Carter can be?
I think he's going to be real good. He's going to be a guy I like to call in the league active. A guy's going to get pressures. A guy's going to be real good in space, covering guys. I think they got a really nice line with him. He's somebody that I think as the season goes along, John, you'll see him get more and more snaps. Right now it's going to be Martin and OV. But it was kind of interesting, John, because the first practice OV got hurt, Olivier Vernon got hurt. Carter was with the ones the next set. And then he mixed in a little bit with Romeo Kawara after that. But they're very high. I could tell you from being in a building all the time, John, that they're very, very high on Lorenzo Carter. And I think he's going to be a real solid player, man. He's a little raw at times, you know what I mean? And he's not the biggest kid, but he's a little at times you see, he's got to, fine tune his game a little bit up in this league. This isn't Georgia, so, but I tell you what, he's another kid, man. He's a hard-working kid who's always working at his game, very coachable, I think Gettleman had an excellent selection with him.
Yep.
And you will see him a lot during the season, and look for him next year, John, to really, really take off.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the most highly rated high school players when he was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Then his career at Georgia was kind of flat, but he ended up with a good bowl game to end his career. But a lot of people couldn't get the fact that he hadn't really lived up to expectations for the entire time he was at Georgia. But the Giants kept their eye on him the whole time. They're like, no, this guy's still good. We want him.
He's a type of kid that's raw in some of his skills. And then Kirby Smart started getting those skills defined. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And now he comes over here with a betcha, and I think his progress will be much quicker under this system in a 3-4 on the betcha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was a little flat in Georgia. They were a little disappointed in him at first. And then Kirby Smart, bell went off for him like the second half of last season for the Bulldogs, for Georgia.
Yes.
He played excellent. You know what I mean? He was good, man. That second half, and like you said, he had a real good playoff, in the playoffs with Georgia,
Yeah,
he's one of those kids. Yeah, he's one of those kids that, Kirby Smart got it at him. He taught him what you have to do in this game, and I think Betch is the same way. And you see his progress, man. I was watching him a lot last night. The kid's got a lot of moves, John, in this league, you're rushing off the edge. You can't just go straight ahead and go, okay, I'll get to the quarterback. No, you have to have game technique. You have to have all kinds of different moves to beat tackles in this league. And that's something that doesn't happen overnight for these kids, John. And that's something he's starting to get now. He's going to be a real effective player for the Giants.
That's great to hear. All right, Chris. Well, I think that's all we got for today, and we'll circle back in a couple of days and we'll talk about the roster and the game against Jacksonville coming up. But thanks for coming on again, man.
John, thank you for having me, bud. I'll talk soon.
Okay. Take care now.
Bye-bye.